Hello, everybody, and welcome on into our episode 0, what we're calling this, of the Patriots Roundtable Podcast with Tyler Geis. My name is Eddie Murata, and we are so excited to be bringing you all of the latest news and information in the world of the New England Patriots on a weekly basis. Right now, we'll see how that kind of grows. But we are just getting things kicked off here with our first episode today. And, you know, Tyler, we are starting this kind of at a late point in the season. It's not like we get to, cover training camp and the preseason, regular season. We're hitting this right at the home stretch of the year. And with the 2025 season that the New England Patriots have been having, boy, could not be more excited to be jumping in right now. Would just like to hear your initial thoughts as we get off the ground here.
Yeah, no, like obviously maybe next year we'll this year actually with the new year we'll cover anything from who's not coming back next year to who they're going to sign, to free agency, to training, to the draft, to training camps. It's pretty much whatever next season. I don't want to drag that out too much, but yeah, I as a fan and someone who obviously is a beat reporter for the Patriots, I remember back in August I was having a talk with my dad, and we were just kind of like 9-8 at best. You know, Vrabel's coming in here with a new attitude, a new program. It really is kind of a new chapter in Foxborough. And 9-8, maybe 10-7, they sneak into the playoffs. And we're starting this show right here at the tail end of the regular season, and they have not snuck into the playoffs. They're champions of the AFC East, which we'll touch on in a little bit. They could, who knows what could happen if the Chargers, I don't know, surprise the Broncos. I know no one's banking on that. I'll touch on that in a little bit, but they could sneak in and go all the way to the top. I don't want to go there. I don't want to do fandom as a Pats fan as well. I want to be honest and whatnot, but this has been – nobody expected this. Nobody from the Northeast no one in the entire country expected this, how good a 3-loss team when last year at this time they were a 3-win team. So, yeah.
Yeah, 13 losses to 13 wins, and none of us were in our right minds talking about that being a realistic possibility for the team walking into the 2025 season. Not even just because of last year, but if you go back 4 or 5 seasons, it has been tough for the Patriots to kind of find their footing in that post-Tom Brady era. I know it's like a word that nobody wants to say when we're talking about the Patriots. Nobody wants to make the Brady comparisons. Look, this team has had more success this season than in any other non-Tom Brady year in the franchise's history. Nobody expected that coming in. Now, depending on how you look at that, you're a Massachusetts native. Boston sports fans, we always want to find something to complain about. I'm a Midwestern guy. I bring the politeness into this conversation here, and I am so excited to be a homer and talk about how well the Patriots are doing this year. I guess depending on how you look at that, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. The team is doing so well as we're starting an endeavor like this, but, very exciting nonetheless. And this past week, the Patriots did do something that not a lot of teams in NFL history have done. For the 3rd time in franchise history, they became an 8-0 undefeated road team, the 12th time in NFL history that a team has been able to do that, coming off of their 42-10 win over the New York Jets. Tyler, I want to get your thoughts on this one. It was a fast start to this game, and it didn't really seem like the Patriots were all that interested in slowing down in East Rutherford, New Jersey last Sunday. What were your biggest takeaways from that game?
I mean, I was watching it at a Chili's at a bar by myself. I needed to step out, my wife was just like, do you want to go watch the Patriots games? We didn't have it locally here. So I stepped out, went to a Chili's bar. They had 4 or 5 games. They had the Bucks, Dolphins, Steelers, Browns. I'm the only Pats fan at the bar. And no one's paying attention to this game but me, because A, because it's the Patriots, and B, they were up, what, 35-3 at the half or something? I don't even remember if it, or 28-3. Just first of all, let's talk first half. 23 first downs, 46 first half plays, 344 yards, uh, 6 drives for 6 touchdowns for Drake Maye.
Yeah.
Look, it's the New York Jets. I get it. They haven't made the postseason in a decade and a half. I get it. There are rivals. The Jets, first of all, didn't even look like they wanted to be there. 3-12, I believe, going into that game. I just don't understand. I guess I should say I do understand. The Patriots just wanted to pounce on them ever since that Buffalo loss, when anyone from the fans to the Boston media needed to start kind of pick apart something negative about the Patriots for blowing a 21-0 lead to the Bills in that loss, and then them coming back against the Ravens. I just think Mike Vrabel, between that Bills loss and the Ravens game and even into this one, I don't know what he said. I know Vrabel likes to get under his players' skin. I know he's competitive. I know he talks smack. He must have said something, because they have just, I don't know, erupted in the last couple weeks since the loss. So it was fun to watch. The game was over by the end of the first quarter. I think any Patriots fan know that. I think any football fan knew that. I think most people knew that the Pats were going to walk away with this. Just not like it was a day. It was a day in the Meadowlands, I tell you.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And you mentioned that first half. The Bills' first half, we go back a couple of weeks. You talked about how that was kind of a turning point for the Patriots losing that game. They were up 21-0 in the second quarter. By halftime of this one, they were up 35-3. I don't think anybody thought that the New York Jets were coming back in the second half of that game, though. And a historic pace for that offense when you actually break down the numbers. They had 46 offensive plays in that first half. 23 of those plays went for first downs. They had 344 yards of offense by halftime and 35 points. The first team in the NFL since 2009 to hit those marks by halftime. So yes, it was the Jets, but I think to your latter point, this was more about the Patriots. Now, week 17 of the season, they know who they are as a football team. They have their identity. They've been tested. They faced adversity now, coming off of that bye week, 10-game winning streak. Everything was sunshine and rainbows. They got smacked in the face a little bit when Buffalo came back and beat them. And it showed them that importance of what Vrabel's been preaching the entire season. No naps, right? And this was a game where the Patriots could have very well taken a nap in this one. And going in, all the story was about the injury situation. You look at what the Patriots were dealing with on the offensive and really defensive side of the football. They were down multiple starters on both sides of the ball, with Kayshon Boutte, Mac Hollins, Harold Landry, Robert Spillane. Milton Williams was going to be coming back. He still didn't make it back for this game. Kyrus Tonga, Joshua Farmer, Jared Wilson, the list goes on. This was a depth test for the Patriots, and they made it look like a walkthrough. Drake Maye, you mentioned, 6 offensive drives, 6 offensive touchdowns. He was throwing to guys like Efton Chisholm out there and just torching the New York Jets. So before we transition into Maye's big day and really what that means for his MVP candidacy, I do want to break down that Efton Chisholm play a little bit more, because I think we've all been waiting for it since training camp. I know you wrote an article highlighting Efton Chisholm going into the week. I was admittedly more excited to see what Kyle Williams looked like in a larger role in the offense. A little bit underwhelmed with him this past Sunday. But Chisholm, he was only called on twice, 2 receptions, 40 yards, and his first career touchdown. We're going to take a look at that a little bit closer here in our All 22 review. All right, everyone, welcome into the inaugural episode of the All 22 review. And today we are going to be taking a look at Efton Chisholm's first career touchdown reception. Now, there's a lot going on this play. It's a play action play that you're going to see Chisholm leak to the outside and catch what was just a dime from Drake Maye on the run. His fifth touchdown pass of the day to his fifth different target of the day. Now you see Efton Chisholm at the end of the line of scrimmage there. He gets the outside release and is able to hammer that thing home into the end zone. So let's take a look at what works well on this play. First and foremost, we have a play action fake hard to the left side of the field here with Travion Henderson moving right up here. The entire left side of the offensive line is continuing to move in that motion as well. And you see that suck 8 defenders down into the box to take this runaway, and the safety over the top of the field here. What that does for the Patriots offense is creates one-on-one matchups to the outside for Maye to boot and eventually toss that dime over the top to Efton Chisholm. But Chisholm's route on this play is especially notable, starting with his alignment. We see Chisholm lined up right here at the end of the line of scrimmage in what we would call the F position. Now, this is normally a second tight end in the lineup. And this is what you would see the Patriots do a lot with Mac Hollins earlier this season. He would line up here at 6'4", 215 and move in line and become an extra blocker in the run game. Chisholm has also been utilized as an extra blocker. So when he gets into the game and he gives this strong release to the inside, following that same motion that all of the other offensive linemen are taking, the corner is fooled. And you're going to see him be able to get even with this corner pretty early on and then break this to the outside. Now, Maye has his choice here of a couple. I think that Kyle Williams, he could have also probably hit on this play, but we're working this flood concept when he boots out, so everybody's moving the same motion in the passing concept as the quarterback. Chisholm is the primary read on this play. He does a fantastic job of getting open, securing the ball, and Drake Maye puts it right on him. So one more time here, we're going to see Chisholm release. He gets even, he turns the corner, goes down, locates the football, and makes that look like a pretty easy touchdown pass here. But once again, starting right here as the F on the end of the line of scrimmage, a much different body type than Mac Hollins, but Josh McDaniels and the offense here still throwing in some wrinkles in week 17 of the NFL regular season.
All right, so Efton Chisholm gets into the end zone, and he was the fifth different receiver to catch a touchdown pass from Drake Maye on the day, and what was quite the historic performance. Maye went 19 of 21 for 256 yards passing, 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers. That was his second game of the season. Over 90% completion, 200 plus yards, and 2+ touchdowns on the year, with that other performance coming in week 6 against the Tennessee Titans when he set the franchise record for completion percentage in a game, going 21 of 23 for 222 yards and 2 touchdowns. We can keep going down the numbers for Drake Maye, and that's kind of where we're transitioning here, Tyler, but your overall impressions of this performance from Maye specifically against the Jets and what it means for him as we start to put a bow on the regular season.
Look, I know there's the whole schedule argument right now. Oh, the Patriots got the easiest schedule, and I'm not even going to push back against that. You're right. The Patriots have had an incredibly easy schedule this year. Tennessee Titans, New Orleans Saints, Cleveland Browns, Bengals, even though that was at a time when you didn't know if the Bengals were going to go up or down. The Ravens even were kind of at a crossroads when they played it, but the Ravens, they might see them in the postseason. You know, Jets twice, Dolphins at the beginning of the year. I can't even believe this team lost to the Raiders in the first.
Week one, man, crazy things happen in week one of the regular season. You can even go back, just as a little side tangent. I'm not going to cut you off too much here. Last year for Cincinnati, everybody was talking about Joe Burrow could have been the MVP if they would have snuck into the playoffs. They didn't make the playoffs because they lost week one to Drake Maye and the Patriots, right? With the Gatorade bath and everything. That came back to bite them. Right, way late in the season. Crazy things happen in week one every single year.
Yeah. But the schedule argument, and I put up a piece over on Roundtable about Drake Maye's response on New Year's Eve. He was talking to the media. Like, we're playing professional football. We're not playing Foxborough High School. It feels like a good callback to Bill Belichick's comments, bringing in like the Foxborough High School players to play against the Patriots at practice or whatever that was a few years back. But my point is like you're seeing teams playing not great teams. Like what the Bills played the Browns a couple weeks ago and they won by 3 points or something. I'm not trying to go against the Bills Mafia. I know we're a Patriots show. I'm not trying to pick fights with fan bases, but what are the Bills doing only winning that game by 3 points? The Patriots go out here and win by 32 points on the road. It's the end of the season. They could start wrapping this thing up, but they're playing like they still got something to prove, which is an old mentality that goes back to Brady Belichick ways of, they still have something to prove. They still have a game to win. They're still in professional football, so they have to go out there and play like they're playing a professional football team, even though I don't think the Jets are playing like a professional football team all season long. Drake Maye is – I don't know what else we can really say about him until maybe we get to the postseason that hasn't already been said, except for obviously the MVP comparisons. But just an incredible performance. He was done playing by halftime. I know they kept him in a little bit in the third quarter. They aren't letting the foot off the gas pedal, just because they're playing a 3-win team late in the year. If they came out Sunday and won this game by a touchdown, I would start getting worried. I would start being like, oh, are we going to be a first-round exit? Like the fact that they're putting up a 32-point win against a bad team, that's how it should be. And I think they've done that a lot. They did that to Tennessee. They were still working out the kinks, I feel, with New Orleans, but I feel like they could have blown them out. The Bucks was a physical game. They only won by 5, but still they looked really edgy in that game. So the schedule argument, to me, I've been pushing back against it all year. They're going at teams like how they should be, no matter the schedule.
Yeah, what happens when you play bad teams? You should beat up on bad teams, and that's what the Patriots have done all season long. They haven't been in close competitive games with these sub-500 teams. They've been blowing the doors off of them. Even a team like the Carolina Panthers, who Matthew Stafford, and we'll get to that in just a moment, just lost to a couple weeks back. They're winning those games convincingly. That was the first game of that 10-game winning streak, and that was a 42-13 victory at Gillette Stadium that kind of got this team playing with a little bit more confidence before they went into Buffalo the following week and won that game on Sunday Night Football. So they've been doing their job. Yeah, they've been doing their jobs against these bad teams. And it's not that out of the ordinary for teams with incredibly successful regular seasons and even postseasons to get there off of the backs of some lesser opponents. The Patriots' strength of schedule this year is eerily similar to the greatest show on turf Rams in 1999. And I don't hear anybody talking about to this day their strength of schedule. It is never an argument that is used in an MVP discussion until you're trying to find excuses not to give it to a guy. And that's exactly where we're at this point in the season with this MVP discussion and Drake Maye. It has been different players all season long. Baker Mayfield, way early on in the season, it was Baker and Drake. Then it was Patrick Mahomes and Drake Maye. Then it was Jonathan Taylor and Drake Maye. Now it was Josh Allen and Drake Maye for a couple weeks. But now we finally got to the point where it's been Matthew Stafford and Drake Maye for a little while now. And we're going to put a graphic up on the screen just to support this argument, but I really don't think it's all that much of a competition here. We're going to start here with common opponents because we're on that kind of looking at who the Patriots are playing, their strength of schedule. This is how these guys have performed in common opponent games this season. And you see Drake Maye with that 6-0 record. He has more total yardage because I think that's something that people have been missing in this conversation is the added ability that he has with his legs with 409 rushing yards on the season. You have the same number of total touchdowns. Stafford has twice the interceptions now after that Monday night loss against the Atlanta Falcons. Maye is accounting for more than 40 yards more in offense per game, a higher completion percentage, a higher passer rating. Anything you want to look at here when it comes to common opponents, Maye is superior than Stafford. So that settles the debate on what we have here in terms of common opponents. But let's look at their statistical comparisons through 17 weeks. In general, this is all games that these guys have played, and you see the only red check mark there for Stafford is under total touchdowns. They have the same number of interceptions. When you include the rushing yardage into Drake Maye's total, this isn't really a competition anymore. And to me, if I'm looking at another team like the Rams that is third in their division and a 6 seed now in the postseason, that guy has to be doing something otherworldly to be taking the MVP away from Drake Maye. And Stafford just isn't doing that, especially when we look at the last 2 weeks. This is a full regular season award. This is not what this guy did during a stretch of the regular season when he had guys like Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams and Kyron Williams all in the lineup around him, with Sean McVay calling the plays for him. Adams has been out the last 2 weeks. We've seen the impact that that's had on this offense. But with everything around Stafford being as good as it's been, I just don't see there being much of an argument for him, especially considering the last couple of weeks he's needed to elevate his level of play in the guys around him, and he hasn't gotten the job done there. Tyler, anything to add on that one? I know we're looking at a lot of different numbers here, some different analytics, but even just the common statistics here, it looks like Drake is kind of blowing Stafford out of the water when we get deeper and deeper into the regular season.
Well, like it's interesting because if you go back to last Saturday or even into that week, like the week of Christmas, it was like, nah, Drake Maye's playing great, but Matthew Stafford, they're going to give it to him because they already got a Super Bowl ring. For the most part, despite like some injuries since that Super Bowl win over the Bengals a few years ago, that's the Super Bowl everybody I feel forgets about because it's right in the middle of the Chiefs dynasty run. That the Bengals made the Super Bowl to play the Rams. I actually loved that. Was one of my favorite recent Super Bowls. But yeah, like for a while it was just like Drake Maye's playing great. Like I'm talking about like top ESPN, FS1, everybody out there saying like Drake Maye's playing great, but in terms of voting, they're going to give it to Stafford. He's the veteran. You know, who knows when it's going to start winding down. And then Drake Maye has his day on Sunday against the Jets. All those amazing stats, 90% completion rate and 5 TDs in a game in the last 40 years is the first to do that. I didn't even know that was a stat until it happened. He's the first one to do it in the last 40 years. But the people were starting to hold their breath still because Stafford had to play. The Rams played Monday night against the Falcons, and the Falcons are one of those teams that you can tell their season's pretty much, falling apart. They're not god awful, but they're not going to be in the postseason. And yet the Falcons came to play, and I woke up Tuesday morning after I watched some of that game, and there was a meme of Stafford off that pick six
diving,
and he's diving to make the stop, but someone photoshopped out. I forgot who picked him off, but someone photoshopped him out, and it's Drake Maye running away with the MVP trophy. But I think now people are just like, wait, okay. Like Drake Maye has a serious case against Stafford statistically. I just think there's a demographic of people who are analyzing how this season has gone for the Patriots that, like what we said at the top of the show, no one thought they'd really be in this position. Maybe they sneak into the playoffs with a Week 18 win. Something happens in their favor. They are in the AFC East. You got to deal with the Jets and the Dolphins, and yes, the Bills are great, but you play the Jets and the Dolphins twice. That very much could be in your favor. I think Maye. Of course, I want the kid to win league MVP in his second year after going 4-13 in a season where we saw a lot of glimmers of hope, but we knew that really something needed to change, and that something needed to be Mike Vrabel, and Josh McDaniels needed to show up. Drake Maye's running an offense that Tom Brady ran. And the craziest thing about it is he's doing it really well, but he's also doing some things that Brady didn't really do. Drake Maye can run. I love watching him run. I love watching him in the pocket. I mean, I've been a fan of the Patriots since I was a kid. So Brady had his struggles in the pocket. He, as great as he is, obviously, he still gave me a panic attack sometimes on a tough day when he had to step up into the pocket. And then, of course, before that, there was Drew Bledsoe, which just, even as a 10-year-old boy, that terrified me. I have so much confidence watching Drake Maye in the pocket. It's been like this one little niche thing all season long where it's like he's not afraid to step up to a massive D lineman and throw the ball right in his face. And he walks away from it like a sociopath. Just keeps it moving. No trash talking, nothing. And he's nice in the press. And I know that's got nothing to do with league MVP. I know there's a bunch of stats here on the screen. But there's something about the fact that Maye's also done this with not these major players. Stafford has a lot of major players out, a lot of receivers out there, I should say, that can get it done for him. He has one of the best offensive-minded coaches out there, and Sean McVay. Guy's an offensive juggernaut, and yet he has every right to be at the level he is as a quarterback. I mean, the switch from Detroit to LA, you had to see it coming and how good he was going to be in that system. I just think Maye's done a lot more with less, and he's done a lot more with, a great offensive mind as well with Josh McDaniels and the coordinator, but he's in Mike Vrabel's system. Mike Vrabel is not really known for being that off. I mean, he knows his stuff. I'm not taking anything away, but Mike Vrabel is very much known for other things. And I see the argument teetering towards Maye having a lot of being very valid. And it is just going to be, I think this is going to come down to one or two votes now. I think for a while it was Maye would pick up maybe like 10, 15% of the vote and it would go to Stafford. I don't know. I think this is going to come down to the wire.
I think it is too, and I don't see there any reason for it to come down to the wire for a lot of the reasons that you listed. This is not a lifetime achievement award. This is a lot of what I wrote about in my article posted on New Year's morning here, talking about why Drake Maye deserves all of these MVP votes. Because after this game on Monday night where Stafford goes out and throws the 3 interceptions, we're all looking up at it and saying, okay, well, Drake Maye is the betting favorite for MVP. You have guys like Dan Orlovsky, Rich Eisen, who's actually an NFL award voter, saying, nobody in Vegas reached out to me. How do they know how I'm going to vote? And it was kind of this backlash and saying, well, we still really like what Stafford's done this year, and we want to give him this award. He's got the Super Bowl finally now. He's 37. He's probably not going to get another crack at this. But I think when you're talking about the most valuable player, that middle word there, value, that is a very heavy portion of what we're doing when we give this award, right? And there are two types of quarterbacks in this league, and I firmly believe this. There are those that can succeed when the situation around them is right. And through Stafford's career, he's proven that's the exact type of quarterback that he's been. In Detroit, no playoff appearances, no playoff success. Yes, he does have the one Super Bowl when he went over to play underneath Sean McVay in this offense. Now perhaps that offense is even better. But you have guys that are elevated by the situation around them and guys that elevate the situation around them. And that's exactly what Drake Maye is. We've been talking this entire episode about how this was not expected for New England. When we look at these stats on the screen here, this is not how their year was supposed to go this year. And number 10 that you see right there has been the catalyst for how they have gotten here. The comparisons for Maye this season should not be with his contemporaries in the MVP race. And actually, when you look at it, the better comparisons for him are second-year quarterbacks that have won MVP awards. Dan Marino in 1984, Patrick Mahomes in 2018, Lamar Jackson in 2019. Put up very similar numbers to Maye. Now, the only one on this list that made as much of a turnaround as Maye did was Peyton Manning, who went from 13 losses to 13 wins in 1998 to 1999. But when you're looking down at the numbers there, far less touchdowns, far less yards per game, far more interceptions, a way lower passer rating, a way lower yards per attempt. And I think that's something that also gets overlooked in this discussion. Drake Maye is pushing the ball down the field more than anybody else in the league right now. He leads the NFL with 8.9 yards per attempt. You should not have a 71.7% completion percentage that's about to break Tom Brady's 2007 franchise record, pushing the ball down the field that much. What he is doing is nearly unprecedented at the quarterback position for the efficiency and the aggressiveness with which he has been playing. Stafford cannot hold the weight of what Drake Maye does for this Patriots offense. And if anything, the last 2 weeks have proven just that. All right, I want to put a bow on this discussion. I think we've spent long enough on this one, and we still do have a game to preview here with the Patriots going up against the Miami Dolphins in Week 18. First and foremost, though, I want to talk about how the Patriots clinched the AFC East and what that means for them going into this Week 18 game. Right now, they currently sit at the second overall seed in the conference, and it sounds like that game that I was all excited about with Denver and the Chargers. Week 18, the Chargers could go in, they could beat the Broncos, the Patriots could claim the number 1 overall seed. That may have lost a little bit of its luster throughout the course of the week here as the Chargers announced quarterback Justin Herbert will not play in this game. They can't win the division anymore. They're locked into a wild card spot already, and they're going to make sure that he can get healthy before a potential matchup against the Patriots in the first round of the playoffs. Does that take a little bit of the luster, the shine off of this game coming up Week 18 for you here, Tyler? How are we feeling going into the last week of the regular season after the Patriots just clinched their first AFC East title since 2019?
I think they have a right to take it. I don't want to say take it easy. You're not going to hear Mike Vrabel say anything like that. First of all, they got Miami in January in New England. Miami cannot play if it is below 70 degrees. It's just, that's the downside to being a Florida-based professional athlete, I guess. The sunshine is great, but once you got to go play outside in England or Wisconsin or whatever, it's hard. So that's great, but I think the Patriots, win this game. But I'm working on an article actually right now that I guess I'll tease a little bit. It's unpublished, but it's kind of the scenarios, and if it's should the Patriots go all out? I think they should, but I think they should also kind of hopefully have a game like they did against the Jets, where by halftime you're kind of like, this is in the bag. They might have to do it a little differently. I think they might have to bring up the game to block a little more. I think they obviously bring in some, with their issues at the receiver injury. Hopefully, Efton Chisholm has another good game. Hopefully, we see that. But I guess it's tough because, I want the Pats to get the number 1 seed as someone who is just been following them this season and being wowed by what I've seen as a fan as well. I don't want to get into fandom on the show, but as a lifelong fan, yes, I want to see that too. I want to see the Phoenix rise from the ashes and scare the crap out of the rest of the NFL. But it's probably not going to happen because of what the Chargers are doing. The flip side to that coin is the Chargers will probably lose to the Broncos, and then I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the seeding will go. They'll take the 7th seed. Bills will move up because they're playing the Jets. A lot of people are definitely banking on the Bills to beat the Jets.
Provided the Bills win that game. But we'll see how much Josh Allen actually plays in that one, too. So who knows with Mitch Trubisky out there. I know the Jets are going into Week 18 hoping they can finally get an interception off of maybe Buffalo's backup quarterback because they still don't have one through the entirety of the regular season. That could be interesting too. But yes, if Buffalo does the job and beats the Jets, then they move up and the Chargers would be sitting there at the 7th seed with the Patriots, theoretically here sitting at the 2 seed and that being the first round matchup there. Yeah.
That no interception thing for the Jets is definitely going to be, if that stays, that's going to be a huge talking point when Aaron Glenn is having a meeting with ownership if they're going to fire him or not in the offseason.
You have a defensive back as your head coach and you don't get any interceptions. What are the odds?
I think so. Therefore, the Patriots would play in wild card round against the Chargers. Now, so I've been playing this game with myself. I don't want to even call it a game. Like, I know people are critiquing the Bills, and I know people think, how do you lose again? How do you not get that 2-point conversion against the Eagles, or just kick the field goal to tie, take it to OT? I know Josh Allen isn't that great in OT statistically, but I don't. I know people are like, the Bills are they're gonna flake out. I'm still kind of scared of the Bills. I'll just say that right here on the air. I still think Josh Allen, when the setting is right, he's really the only QB. And I don't want to discredit everything we said about Drake Maye, because I think Drake Maye can do it too. And we saw that coming back 11 points in the 4th quarter against Baltimore on the road. But I think it's Maye or Allen to kind of rise to the occasion in the 4th quarter. That's all I really see out of AFC quarterbacks right now. For the most part.
And I think it's incredible that you're throwing Maye into that conversation because, yes, we've seen him do it in recent weeks. But again, he's only 23, right? Like, this kid is less than 30 starts into his NFL career, and we already feel comfortable enough saying we're going to trust him when everything's on the line. Allen has had years now to refine his craft and become the type of player that he is now, to be able to put on the Superman cape in those moments. And in classic Buffalo fashion, not to get too biased here, the pass goes incomplete on the 2-point conversion and the Patriots win the division this past weekend, right? This is going to be the year for Josh Allen if there ever was a year. No Patrick Mahomes in the way. Potentially, we'll see how this one plays out. No Lamar Jackson in the way. This is the most wide open that the AFC has been in years. And from Buffalo's perspective, you have to be looking at that saying, I don't care what our team looks like this year. We have Josh Allen at quarterback. Nobody else has got that in this conference. We feel confident going into the playoffs, especially if that means playing against a team that we know like the back of our hand in the Patriots. And I think for the Patriots too, that goes both ways. They feel comfortable going into a game against Buffalo because it's an opponent that they know very well. And for Drake Maye, he's still getting to the point where he's playing teams for the first time in his career at this point right now, right? So that familiarity really makes a big difference. It would make for a fascinating game, but I agree with you. We're hoping that game comes a little bit later on in the postseason. You don't want to have to start out your playoff career by hosting the Bills and Josh Allen at Gillette Stadium week 1 of the playoffs. That's just a tough way to break things down if you're the Patriots.
I just think Buffalo and New England again in the first round, that makes me nervous. Because I'm not saying the Patriots can't win. I think they very well can when they prove that they can win. I just think that 21-0 blowing in the first half of that rematch just still left a bad taste in my mouth. And that's proof that, okay, the Bills are having kind of a different year, but it's still Josh Allen. Josh Allen, to me, I don't ever really hear Brett Favre comparisons with him. Maybe I'm just not listening, but He reminds me of in the gunslinger quarterback fashion of just how Brett Favre was, how like, I'll just throw it up there and see who catches it, but somebody might catch it. Like Josh Allen, this is Allen's year to not win the Super Bowl when he very well could. No Patrick Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson. I know people are iffy about this, but no Joe Burrow. It's really Drake Maye in Josh Allen's way, and I still think Josh Allen has the experience to find a way to beat the Patriots, even if it's at Gillette Stadium again. He's already done it before. So I also think as someone who admires the team and has been rooting for them all year, if they play the Bills in the first round and it's a first round exit, then come on. Like I'm still proud of what this team has accomplished, but
the expectations have shifted, right? Like that would have been great at the beginning of the year, not now.
Yeah, right. So if it's the Chargers, I feel confident we can beat the Chargers. And I'm not saying we can't beat the Bills, but I don't. This is just going to be weird how it takes shape. But I want to say, as I sit here today, I'm about 65% confident we will have a Denver-New England Super Bowl, or not AFC Championship game. I don't know what New England is past that. I'm just being an honest person watching the game because I don't know. I still haven't watched a lot of Denver Bronco football this year. I'll be honest with you. I said the number one. It's Bo Nix, same draft class, I believe, as May. So that's an interesting AFC championship right there. Two really young guys who have proven they're really good with really great coaches. And past that, a Super Bowl, I don't know. But in terms of just how I think we're getting off track. I thought we were talking about the Dolphins game to start this.
There's a lot at stake as we go into the last week of the regular season for how that manifests itself in the postseason for the Patriots' path. And it's a perfect 8-0 on the road. Again, third team in franchise history, 12th team in league history to go undefeated on the road. But that doesn't mean that it's a comfortable situation walking into Mile High Stadium in Denver, Colorado to play that game to go to the Super Bowl. Even for the Patriots of years past, that was an extremely difficult place for them to play.
I was about to say that. Even Brady couldn't get it done there sometimes.
And they have that sticky man coverage on defense, Pat Surtain, great pass rush. That defense could create some problems. Their offense is extremely hot and cold with Bo Nix. Sean Payton's the perfect coach for him there, and I think that you see with his scheme, similar to Josh McDaniels. I think even just getting back to your earlier point, on Josh Allen and being that gunslinger, that's what we thought Drake Maye was coming out of the draft. And that's what he showed through his first year in the NFL. Josh McDaniels has been able to reel that in. Bo Nix is having the same thing done with him with Sean Payton right now, right? And I think that you're seeing both coaches be able to get the most out of their quarterback. So it makes for a fascinating matchup. It's definitely one that I always circle whenever we see any of these other, that was a historic draft class last year with 6 of the first 12 picks being quarterbacks. So anytime those guys are on, I'm trying to see where May measures up against them. And again, he's just kind of blown the field out of the water here with how he's been able to accelerate his development in year 2 here. We can touch on this Dolphins game very quickly. We are running a little bit over already, so we'll keep it quick. But we do have one more game of the regular season here. Patriots-Dolphins. We talked about what that meant for the postseason. Tyler, what are you looking for in game to see the Patriots get a W in this one?
I think I touched on it at the top of my rant back there, but I think they probably are going to try and run the ball a lot. I would hope. I don't know if that means Ramondre Stevenson or Henderson. Is Henderson playing? Is he still out?
He should be playing. Yeah.
So I don't know who they're going to go with. That might just be a touch and go thing, but like I said, I feel like they want to be I don't know. I'm sure May's going to want to sling it, and we'll see what happens with that. I mean, you still have Hunter Henry out there. But I feel like out of the gate, they might try and run it. And if they got to pick things up, go to the air. In terms of red zone, I think that's in the third clip showed some real promise that maybe he could be a guy, a good slot receiver in the red zone for them. Because I know earlier in the year there was a lot of critiques on they get down to the 15 or the 10, and then they got to kick a field goal. That was a big critique on the offense around like at the time they played the Jets the first time. But I think if they get a good cushion where they're up 27-10 going into the fourth, you'll see backups coming in. But I hope they just burn the clock out and go home. But the Dolphins, since they fired their GM, have kind of shown some life. And does it make me nervous? Not really, but I think the Dolphins might hang around in this game, and that could switch things up. If they're still hanging around in the second quarter, I would think the Patriots switch up some sort of game going into halftime.
Yeah, I think on the Dolphins end of this really centers around, can they get Devon Achane going, right? And I think this comes on a string of games for the Patriots where you go back through James Cook, Derrick Henry, Breece Hall. They played some really great running backs. Achane, top 5 in the league in rushing. He also adds versatility as a receiver out of the backfield. And for the Dolphins, a little bit different of a situation than the Jets. It's not just their running back. When you look at Quinn Ewers, even in his 3 career games, much better numbers than what we saw last week going in against Brady Cook. And they have a receiver that actually has over 400 yards on the year in Jalen Waddle that could create some mismatches on the outside, depending on how the Patriots want to roll Christian Gonzalez over the top of him, see if he shadows him throughout the course of the game. But there are some key matchups to actually watch in this one, a little bit more than what we got with the Jets last week, and some areas that the Patriots, especially without Milton Williams, without Robert Spillane, that interior rushing defense has shown some cracks in recent weeks. So Achane was a foot away from, a foot out of bounds away from making their week 2 matchup that much more interesting. I think, as you touched on earlier, though, playing in Miami early in the regular season, extreme disadvantage for the Patriots. Now playing in New England, week 18 of the regular season going into January of 2026, major disadvantage for a Florida-based team. And I would agree with all of your sentiments on the Patriots' offensive approach. Try and run the clock, run this game out, and establish a tone with your ground game. That's been something I think, especially in recent weeks, that New England's tried to do in short yardage especially. I think that's one area that they've struggled, whether it be on the goal line, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, being able to just line up, push the man across from you off the ball and be able to gain that yard. That's been something that we've been seeing the Patriots and Josh McDaniels almost stay too committed to running over and over and over again. Just like one of these has to work at some point. And I think that you, especially as we see this team moving again towards playoff contention, they have to figure that out before the playoffs. This is their last time to be able to do that. I expect a lot of Ramondre Stevenson. I expect a lot of heavy personnel packages. They've been running those extra offensive linemen with Thayer Munford onto the field quite often in recent weeks. I want to see them go with that again. You get some play action off of that. It opens things up in the passing game for Maye as well when he wants to be opportunistic and pick his spots down the field. But I think one of these games where you want to, again, get off to that hot start, be able to control the flow of this game, and hopefully, as you said, get your starters out of there a little bit early again in week 18. All right, everybody, that should just about do it for this extra long episode 0 of the Patriots Talk podcast. Yeah, we've been doing a good job with that. I think that we're doing more than enough here, and I think hopefully that can be the goal to continue that moving forward. But we do have to get a couple of plugs in here because this is the first time we're doing that. First and foremost, for all of you who already follow Patriots Roundtable and have found this podcast because you've already been to the site, thank you for your support over there. We're really excited to get this thing started. For those of you who are just now finding us because you're taking a look at this podcast, please go visit the site at roundtable.io. We are the Patriots channel there. We both write a bunch of content on the site and are looking forward to continuing to expand this presence all over roundtable.io with the Patriots Roundtable Podcast and more coming up soon. We're excited for this Dolphins game on Sunday, but I think we're all ready to look ahead to the postseason very shortly thereafter. For Tyler Geis, I'm Eddie Murata. Everybody, thank you once again for tuning in. We'll see you next time.